I've had something on my mind recently that I think is worth talking about, and I think it affects the majority of people on the planet. Well, before we get there, let me ask you this. Do you remember what you did last night from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.? What were you doing? Were you watching something? Do you have any recollection at all of what you did last night? Do you remember the time that you spent? I'm asking you that because what I've noticed with myself and with the society at large is there is a pull for everybody's attention. There's a pull for everybody's time. And time is a resource that is unlike any other thing in this world. Once you spend 1 minute, you can never get it back. Time is a finite resource. And with the advent of social media, with the advent of technology, and with the smartphone, we have unlimited access to information. We have unlimited reach to people in the world, which are positive things. But there is also a disturbing underbelly and downside to the access that we have, because it depletes our greatest asset if we're not aware of it. Your most important tool and your most finite resource as a human being is your time. It's something that you can never get back. And there is a bunch of information, anecdotally from myself and from researchers, from influencers, from celebrities, from anybody and everybody. People are starting to speak up and starting to talk about how much they are being affected by screen time, how much they're being affected by the social media, the devices, the technology that have revolutionized the world. I package all of that to say this episode is about how to manage your time. And I want to create some awareness on some of the detriments of wasting your time and of social media, phone addiction, as well as social media in general and the effects it can have on mental health and it can have on your productivity in general. I wanted to speak about this topic because I've noticed myself being a content creator, being a podcaster, having a full-time job, and just going through life and trying to manage everything, that time is of the essence, and I can almost not get enough of it nowadays. And the phones, the screens, all the different social media accounts can really entrap you if you're not careful. So I have multiple articles here today. I have an abundance of information. I'm not going to be able to get through it all, but I'm going to highlight some key points in some of this information. And hopefully what you could take away from this is having awareness about your habits and things that you are doing that are hindering your growth, And ultimately, the first key to breaking a habit, the first key to having better time management and being more productive is recognizing that it is a problem and then changing small behaviors, small things you could do each and every day to break and eventually improve your quality of life. Now, myself, something that I could be better at is, instead of the moment I wake up, grabbing my phone and looking at, YouTube Studio, at social media, tracking those type of things, what I could do is get up, start my routine, get dressed, what have you, cleaned up and all that. And then doing some affirmations, doing some meditating. I'm going to start doing that starting this coming week and see how that fares, because what I've noticed is I'm a very composed person. I am thoughtful. I'm observant. But I've noticed that with using TikTok, using Instagram Reels, all of these new platforms, for the most part, their entire growth strategy is to get to the information quick, to get you to keep watching, to keep your attention. It's quick cut, quick cut, quick cut, quick cut. And that's perfect for what they're trying to do, is to keep you on the platform. But I think it is detrimental to you as a human being to constantly be getting that quick hit all the time. I want people on this podcast, and also in any content that I create, to take a step back for a moment and just relax. Everything does not need to be so fast. Sometimes you need to slow down to actually grasp what is going on in society. If you're watching on YouTube, like the video if you get value out of this, and subscribe to the channel. For my audio listeners, thank you very much for listening to the podcast. This is episode 61. I am your host, Monte Lee. If you enjoy this content and you get value out of it, do me a favor, rate and review the podcast. 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. And I'm going to have to refer to you guys as something eventually. So what is it? Juicies and Juicettes? No, that doesn't have a good ring to it. We're going to keep working the possibilities of what I'm going to call you guys, the community, which is growing. And I appreciate everybody for being interactive. Please write me a question in your rating and review if you have any questions or feedback or any topics you want me to cover. I'm interested in hearing what my audio listeners have to say about the podcast, as I really, really do appreciate you. Now, without further ado, we're going to get right into some of this source material, and then I'm going to give some more perspective and insight on what I think this problem is that we all are facing. And I'm also going to give you some solutions to what we can do to solve it. So the first source is courtesy of usnews.com, and it indicates here, outside of sleeping, Americans spend most of their time watching television. Outside of sleeping, Americans spend most of their time watching television. Okay. Television is the most popular leisure activity in the U.S. These states tend to watch the most. During the coronavirus pandemic, it says here, the coronavirus pandemic largely altered how people engage with the world, including how Americans spend their time. Most distinctively, the share of employed Americans working from home nearly doubled during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, rising to 42% Wow. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, released on Thursday, whenever this article was put out, as more Americans began working from home, average travel times decreased across all demographics. While the average time individuals spent alone increased, according to the survey, which measures the average amount of time per day individuals spent working, providing childcare, traveling, and engaging in leisure and sports activities, among other metrics. The survey uses data gathered between May and December of 2020 because of a temporary data collection suspension due to the coronavirus pandemic. After sleeping, Americans spent most of their time watching television, averaging about 3.1 hours per day, just slightly more than they spent working. Across all demographics, the amount of time Americans spent engaged in leisure and sports activities, including watching television, increased during the coronavirus pandemic, just over 5.5 hours per day from 5 hours in 2019. So a half hour increase. Men saw a 37-minute increase in leisure time during the pandemic, whereas women gained 27 minutes, the survey says. Watching television, including watching live programming, viewing DVDs, and streaming shows on TV sets, computers, and portable devices occupied the most time in 2020 of any leisure activity, ranging from more than 5 hours per day for those 75 and older to just over 2 hours per day for those ages 35 to 44. Okay. Let's go here. Cue the, can anybody remember Tiger King? That was a phenomenon during the pandemic. And I would say, I don't think something like that would have gotten as much popularity that it got if it wasn't for everybody being on their home and just needing something absolutely crazy to watch. I will say, guilty. I binged that crap because was fascinating. It was a fascinating dumpster fire, to say the least. Okay, moving on. It also goes on to say here that it also shows hours spent watching TV daily according to the various states. So it looks like West Virginia spent the most time watching TV, 3.8 hours, and Missouri spent the least time, 3.3. Oh, no. Out of this list. No, sorry. I'm sorry, Missouri. It was actually Alaska spent the least time watching TVs per day, 1.85. And West Virginia, the most, 3.8. These sources will be in the description, as I've said before, and in the show notes. All right. So that's the first article there. And it just kind of gives some context to what happened. The phenomenon where a lot more people were watching TV, watching stuff on screens, paying attention more to that type of stuff. And I noticed that as well. And the screen time has affected people. It has an ultimate effect on our mental health, which we'll find out later here in the podcast. And what I've noticed is I'm a very active person. I'm somebody that likes to play sports, like to work out. And during the pandemic, I started having some bad habits where I wouldn't go work out as much. Thankfully, I was able to go on walks when it was nice outside, but it's something that I need to improve on and work on. And what you can do when you're constantly coming home after work, if you are working a regular 9-to-5 job and you just get into a habit of going and sitting down and watching TV, you can get stagnant and it could become a routine for you. And it is not healthy for you overall, as we are going to find out, as you're going to find out in this episode. So we're going to continue on. I have another source here that is courtesy of menshealth.com. And it indicates here that Joe Wicks, the body coach, opens up about phone addiction to fans on Instagram. And this was published on April 29, 2022. So this is fairly recent. So it indicates here, reading this on your phone. As a question, reading this on your phone, maybe in a meeting or while you're watching TV, maybe you were doing something else and aren't sure how you ended up here. Joe Wicks has something to say about that. He said on Instagram, I am addicted to my phone. I recently took 5 days off social media and stayed off of my phone as much as possible to really connect with the kids. It wasn't easy unplugging, but it really opened my eyes to just how much I struggle with it on a daily basis. Yes, that is accurate. A lot of people struggle with this and we're not even noticing it because it's become just common knowledge, common practice that you're on your phone scrolling during lunch. You're on your phone scrolling while you're walking down the street. It could really become a hazard at times. So let's raise some awareness on this. Let's continue. The raw and passionate post highlights Wicks' struggles and the way in which phones intrude on our daily lives. I am unable to stay focused on a single task without getting distracted by my phone. My brain is constantly seeking some other form of distraction and stimulation, and it's 100% of the time coming from me picking up my phone. He's speaking facts. He says he goes on to speak candidly about the impact it has on his mental health. The phone is the source of distraction for my brain, but also the source of almost every single negative emotion I feel in a day. Anger, frustration, impatience around the kids, intolerance, stress, insecurities, anxiety, all usually stems from looking at my phone. With 4.3 million Instagram followers, social media has been a powerful force in establishing Wicks' career. But he admits it's had a huge impact on his mind and ability to be present. He goes on to say, I realized that I see the world through the lens of social media content, with the constant urge to record, curate, and share everything. This affects my ability to feel truly present in the moment and appreciate what's right in front of me. Is that you? Is that something that you're starting to notice and realize? Be honest with yourself. Are you having a conversation with somebody that's important to you and you're feeling an urge to grab your phone to check to see if you got any more likes or if you got any more subscribers or if you need to respond to some comments or if you need to see what's going on in a certain event because you don't want to have FOMO, you don't want to have fear of missing out? Is this something that you're dealing with as well? I would bet that there are a lot of people, especially people in the age range, I would say late 30s, early 40s down, that are being affected by this. I'm a millennial. I'm 33. I remember a world before the smartphone, and I've seen the whole spectrum and arc of its influence over time. I would not say I'm addicted to my phone, but I hear where he's coming from. I understand it, and I do feel the effects of it. Let's continue. It goes on to say, that Joe Wicks found fame through Instagram and YouTube, where he shared workouts and follow along cooking tutorials. He also opens up about the constant pressure to respond to the thousands of communications he receives every day, and the sense of failure he feels in the face of this impossible task. I have this impulse and obsession to respond instantly to the constant DMs I get, to emails and WhatsApps from everyone at all hours of a day or night. In my mind, nothing can wait. Even after a day of replying, it never feels like I've done enough because I can't reply to them all. He is candid too about his justification of phone use. I justify the use of my phone for work, but in reality, I'm probably 30% productive with it and actually helping my community. And 70% of the time, I'm just consuming mindless content, distracting myself, getting triggered, and annoying myself, eternally scrolling and just avoiding something else. He's getting real. A lot of the time, a lot of the content that you're consuming on these various platforms are things that probably don't even really serve you. Do you feel any better after watching or listening to it? Or are you triggered automatically? One thing that I noticed was the mindless content, people constantly arguing, conversations leading to a dead end, after a while just get redundant and repetitive, and I don't get value out of it anymore. And part of the reason why I started a podcast is I know myself, and let me know if you're like this as well. When I'm listening to a podcast, I can multitask. I don't necessarily need to be looking at my phone. I could go on a walk and listen to a podcast. I could be working, doing landscaping like I did when I was in college, listening to a podcast. I could be typing notes while I'm in the office working on a project, listening to a podcast, or I could be doing laundry or what have you. I could do multiple things, or I could just sit and relax and listen to the podcast or on a commute to work. Part of the reason why I enjoy podcasts so much is it's not mindless content. Usually the content is the conversation. It is the subject matter. And what I try to put out into the world is something that I would want to hear, and I want it to be a calming presence in somebody's life. Some of the topics aren't calm. Some of the topics are about crime. Some of the topics are about money. Some of the topics are about things that are going on in the culture. But with all that being said, I think that podcasts are a happy medium when it comes to being able to consume content, because it doesn't require your undivided attention. You can passively listen to a podcast. You could be doing something else and still be getting value out of the podcast. But his point is very valid and accurate. If you're getting value out of this, please help me out. Like the video. And let's continue with the article here. It goes on to say, Wicks said his 5-day phone detox made him realize how hard his children have to work to get his attention and how many moments he's missed because of the use of a phone. He says, I get sucked into this infinite loop where I'm constantly picking up my phone and refreshing my news feed on all my channels without thinking. I've been there. I've been there refreshing the YouTube studio. I've been there refreshing TikTok and Instagram, trying to boost engagement, respond to every comment. I hear where he's coming from. I can relate to that. Can you? While you may secretly know your phone use borders on unhealthy, it's likely you sweep this inconvenient truth under the carpet. And Wicks' openness on the topic and its impact on daily life has clearly hit a mark, with hundreds of thousands of comments fervently agreeing this is an issue. There is physical and emotional addiction to our phones that I think we are all experiencing to an extent. It's something we have to get a hold on. It's about learning to detach from the phone, to set boundaries and win back some hours in the day when you put the phone away. That's a bar right there. We need to hear that again. It's about learning to detach from the phone, to set boundaries and win back some hours in the day when you get to put the phone away. Do you feel that? I felt that because what I'm starting to guard more than anything in my life in this moment is my time. I don't want to spend time on anything that is just mindless and is not going to help me progress forward. That's why spending time on the podcast, spending time on the content creation, it doesn't feel like I'm wasting any time doing this, because I want to be here. I want to help people. I want to express myself and get what I want to say out. And what I would encourage you to do is find something like that for you. It could be a podcast. It could be a online business, a side hustle. It could be coaching or training. Whatever it is for you, find out what that is. And in time that you would have mindlessly been doing something, work on that. You will be surprised at how it makes you feel to do that. To be putting your time, which is so valuable, to use for something that you want to do. And it's not because somebody else is telling you to do it, but because you want to. I want people to take their time back. I want people to value it like it is the finite resource that it is. So that was the second article that we had. I got more information here, and we're going to just keep on going with it because I want to honor and value your time. The third article is from ScottsScoop.com, and it indicates what is the dark side of screen time. The amount of time spent on your screens, is it too much? So what I want you to do, a little exercise here. I want you to pull out your phone, go to the screen settings, okay? And see how much screen time you are averaging, okay? So let's all do this together. Go and find out how much screen time you've used on an average day. So on average for me, this is really crazy. I was playing YouTube a lot in the background today. But on average this week, this is high. I did have some travel time in there because I played in a tournament this past week. But average screen time, daily average for me. Look at yours. I want you to put yours in the comments too. In the comments of the description, or if you're on the rating on the podcast and the audio, when you do a rating and review, please rate and review the podcast 5-star. Let me know what your daily average is with your question. 5 hours and 2 minutes for me right now. 5 hours and 2 minutes. Oh my Lord. That's a lot. Wow. Helps to put things into perspective, right? So let's continue on. Is the amount of time spent on screens too much? The average teen spends over 3 hours a day on a device, an action that can have consequences for mental and physical health and well-being. Humans have gone from using crude, makeshift tools in their daily endeavors to using some of the most astounding modern developments in the world, all within only the last millennium. What would seem like alien technology to people of the past is now widely available for cheap. Enclosed in the small devices resting in our pockets lies the summation of human thought. Ranging from an angry movie review to century-old historical databases, content that is accessible at all times. This very well might be ruinous for future generations. With all of the good that coincides with modern technology, it is no surprise that it is an escape for many people. Whether it be binging on YouTube for several hours, guilty as charged here, while procrastinating, or seeking the validation of their online peers to fill the void caused by an unstable home environment, children use technology very frequently for this very reason. However, what these kids see as an outlet of escape is only further leading them down a harmful road, holding the potential to stunt their development into healthy and functional adults. Internet-connected devices are increasingly becoming a huge part of daily life. Schools are integrating them. Classrooms, curriculums, workplaces, utilizing tech more. The average American household is more connected than ever with many internet-accessible devices. Technology has never been more important or accessible. It plays a huge role in children's lives. Kids' tech consumption has skyrocketed over the past few years, largely because of the availability and affordability of technology. That is according to the Common Sense census. The ownership of cell phones from adolescents ages 9 to 12 increased by 19% from 2015 to 2019. Technology usage has increased substantially over the past decade, said Lance Garrison, a pediatric psychologist at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. This is largely due to the introduction of the smartphone. It revolutionized how we assess the internet and the services available to us as consumers. There's also a survey that was conducted by Pew Research between 2014 and 2017 that the average teen spends about 3 hours on a screen purely for entertainment, excluding time spent on educational content. That time accounts for over 2/3 of total time spent on leisure activities, nearly tripling the time spent on socializing with friends. It can get really bad. I spend about 7 hours on a good day, maybe 8.5, said a junior at Carlmont. 7 hours on a good day on the phone. Furthermore, the number of connected devices has grown significantly in the last 2 decades. In 2000, for context, the average household saw barely over 3 connected devices, with only 51% of all households having at least one. Compare that survey in 2020, the prevalence of technology has increased 8-fold, Interestingly, can't say that. Interestingly, more than half of that change occurred during the year 2020, which saw the number grow from about 11 devices to an astounding 25? 25? In general, I'd say we have about 13 devices in our house, including ones that aren't mine, said Carmont sophomore Sasicht Visapragada. I feel like I might have botched that. If I did, sorry, lady. With this increased screen time comes a crucial question. How does technology usage affect children? A wide variety of sources reveal correlations between device usage and certain physical and behavioral developments in adolescence. Experts across multiple platforms argue over the specific ways this occurs, but the general consensus is that overusing technology has the potential to negatively impact the youth. I've been saying this for years. There's no way that with how much these phones are being used in social media, with how the culture has moved to everything being online, that is not affecting people who are developing the most. I am fortunate and I am so glad that I grew up in a time where the phones weren't as advanced yet. We had, remember the chirps, boop, 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 the Nextels back in the day, and the Palm Pilots and the T-Mobile Sidekicks. Even with our cell phones, like with the Nextels and stuff, you had to like chirp somebody and like at least talk to them through a walkie-talkie because texting was horrible. Hey, Gen Z, you guys remember something called T9? You remember texting not with the full keyboard, texting with the actual number pad and taking like 4 minutes just to say, hey, what's up? That's what I remember. And I'm fortunate for that. I'm fortunate that when I first started to have friends and to start calling friends or calling a girl that I liked, I had to call their actual number, and with a caller ID. Some people didn't even have caller ID. And when you called, you didn't know who was actually on the other line until you picked up. So sometimes you would have to call a girl that you liked house, you know, when I was, I don't know, 5th, 6th grade, and say, hey, is so-and-so there? Is Keisha there? And the dad picks up and is like, oh, hello? And you there? Hey, is Keisha there? Keisha? What you want to do with Keisha? Well, Mr. Jones, I just want to, talk to her. I think she's nice. Well, make it quick. And then you would talk on the phone that way. That's how you had to do things. Okay. So I'm from a different era. I'm from a different age. You know what I'm saying? And I'm fortunate for that now with hindsight. And what I want to encourage younger people and what I want to encourage people who are dealing with these things to do is to have moderation with the things that you are doing. Spend more quality time being present with people. Get a hobby. Go on walks. Go to the gym. Listen to podcasts. Because I want people to be more productive and to clear their minds. And I purposely make my content in a way that it might not be the most exciting thing in the world. It might not have all of this spectacle content where it's quick, fast moving cuts all the time, but that's for a reason. I want people who listen to my content to have a healthy attention span. Everything does not need to be hard hitting and fast to get your point across. I want you to have a conversation. I want you to get some context and develop as a person over time. And the only way I've realized and noticed that you can do that as a person is having real conversations with people. Even though right now I'm speaking into a microphone by myself and into a camera, I know that I have listeners out there who are taking this in. And if I could help one person address some of the things that we all go through when we're living life, that's enough for me. I don't think people talk with one another enough in this age. There are people who have hundreds of thousands of followers, but have very few people that they can call and actually have a real connection with. I want people to just be more present and aware of what is really going on, because what I've noticed growing up and what I've noticed over time is there is no real FOMO. You're really not missing out on anything. You need to value your time more than this false sense of missing out on something. That's just the honest truth. Let's answer this question because I know it's going to come up. What is phone addiction? The use of cell phones has become an integral part of society. While cell phones have many benefits, many people have developed what some researchers consider an addiction to their phones that can have negative effects on well-being. According to some research, roughly 27.9% of young adults are addicted to their cell phones. Read on to find out more about how cell phone addiction is defined, the risk involved, and how to treat it. Phone addiction and what it is. Phone addiction is cell phone addiction may be categorized as a type of behavioral addiction that presents when a person can't go without their cell phone. Their excessive use causes adverse consequences, or they experience symptoms similar to withdrawal when they do. While cell phone addiction is not officially recognized as an addiction in the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, the DSM-5, it does present with similar characteristics as other behavioral addictions such as gambling. The DSM-5 is the American Psychiatric Association's official handbook that mental health professionals use to assess and diagnose a variety of mental health disorders. So who is at risk of phone addiction? Research has found that although anyone can be at risk for this type of addiction, it is most commonly found in adolescents. Teens in particular use their phones with high frequency, while cell phone use tends to decrease gradually as a person gets older. I found that to be true as well. People who get phones at a younger age are also more likely to present with addictive behaviors than those who get them later in life. What is the risk between the two genders? Both young boys and girls are at a higher risk of developing an addiction to their cell phones, but there may be somewhat different patterns of use. Girls, they typically use their phones for social interaction, while boys use phones for this reason and access to gaming applications. Males also show a higher tendency to use their phones in risky situations, whatever that means. What are the symptoms of phone addiction? Some new terms have emerged to describe characteristics of phone addiction. I've never heard of these before, so here we go. Nomophobia, fear tied to going without one's phone. Okay. Textophrenia, fear of the inability to receive or send text messages. Ringxiety, feeling as though a notification has come through on your phone when it hasn't, and textiety, feeling anxious because of receiving and responding to text messages immediately. Some of the symptoms of phone addiction include this. You are constantly reaching for your phone. You spend much of your time on your phone. You wake in the night to check if your phone has any notification. You feel negative emotions such as anger, sadness, or anxiety when you don't have your phone or you can't check your phone. Using your phone has led to an injury or accident, such as a car crash from texting while driving. Wow, yeesh. The amount of time you spend on your phone affects your professional and personal life. When you try to limit your phone use, you end up relapsing in a short period of time. Does that sound like you? What are some signs from others? While it can be difficult to notice your own phone addiction, one telltale sign you are forming an addiction is if someone in your life mentions your phone overuse to you. They may express concern about how much you are on your phone or your behavior while you are not using it. And what are the effects overall of this phone addiction? Studies show that cell phone overuse can have a negative impact on your health in a variety of ways. Some effects of phone addiction include muscle pain and stiffness, fatigue, blurry vision, dry eyes, red or irritated eyes, auditory illusions, hearing your phone ring or vibrate when it's not, thumb or wrist pain, loss of interest in other activities you once enjoyed, insomnia and sleep disturbances, worsened school or work performance, heightened conflicts with your social group or family, feelings of irritability or unease when you don't have your phone, an increased risk of developing depression or anxiety, putting yourself in dangerous situations by using your phone when you shouldn't be, feelings of guilt, helplessness, or loneliness when you go without your phone. There is even signs here that cell phone addiction is similar to other types of addiction because of its effect on dopamine, a chemical in the body that causes feelings of pleasure. Cell phone use has been shown to stimulate the production and release of dopamine, which drives the need to use it more and more. That is profound. So what's the solution? How do we break the addiction? Breaking any type of addiction isn't going to be easy, but it's possible. First, you must acknowledge the issues it's causing in your life. By determining if the root cause of your phone addiction is to escape problems, you can address and treat the underlying issues. Consider therapy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, which has been highly effective in helping people overcome addictions, motivational interviewing, and couples counseling. Tips to beat phone addiction on your own: buy a cell phone lockbox, remove apps that take up the majority of your time. There are also in the settings of these phones, they can show you what your screen time is and the apps that are doing the most damage. Start with those. Eliminate notifications on your phone so you aren't summoned to check it every time a notification appears. Yes, I've done that on my phone. Charge your phone in an inaccessible place so it's harder to get to. That's smart. Try to replace phone use with other activities you enjoy, i.e. the gym, i.e. a hobby, i.e. going on walks. And how do we prevent this overall? If you're a parent, have young children, you should probably wait till they're older to give them a phone. And also, moderation is key. Give somebody a set period of time to actually use the phone. All right. So that's the gist of that information there. So I don't want to sound like the old guy on the block that's just saying get off my lawn, put the kids down, put the phone down, kids. But I want to reiterate that the time that you're spending today is time that you're never going to get back. And Don't you want to be spending your time and developing yourself in a way to where you can make an impact on the world? Constantly scrolling on Instagram or scrolling on social media in general and just watching all of this mindless content, in the moment, it might give you a little bit of gratification, or you might see a funny video or what have you. But at the end of the time, you're losing your time. And that's one of the most important things that you have in this world. So I just want you to value it and do things in moderation. There are things that you can set up. There's apps you can get on your phones that you could limit the screen time to where in a certain app, you could lock yourself out of the app after you've reached a certain amount of time on the app in a day. Try something like that. I don't think you need to go cold turkey. And this was weighing on me, and I thought this topic was relevant because I've noticed it within myself where I was constantly reaching for my phone and constantly trying to make sure that I'm engaging with the audience and engaging with people that I have on various social media platforms. And that is important if you're a content creator and that you're trying to grow and build a brand, but it's not healthy to not put those things in a moderation and to put them in their proper place, because they can damage you, your energy. It could damage your ability to be productive in other things that you're doing in your life. So just keep those things in mind when you're moving through the world. Are the things that I'm watching, are the people that I'm listening to, are the television that I'm watching, the shows that I'm watching, are they serving me? Are they adding value to me? Or after I'm done listening to it or watching it, am I in a bad mood? If that's the case, you probably should consider doing something else. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you're constantly scrolling on your phone 5-6 hours a day, let's do something different. All right? That's what I encourage you to do. Get a hobby if you don't already have one. You could start a podcast. I could help you with that. I have information on my platform, either on YouTube or here on the podcast, where you can go and you can figure out how to start a podcast. And I want people to express themselves and tell their stories. And in the process, hopefully I added some value to you in this episode. So I think that's a good place to end this installment of the Karat Juice Podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast where we talked about the effects of phones, social media, and their impact on our lives, then do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel to get more content like this. And if you are listening, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate my audio listeners. Right now, they're going to be Juicies and Juicettes until I come up with a better name for my Karat Juice Podcast audience. And I want you to do me that favor and just rate the podcast 5 stars. Leave me a question. Give me some feedback on what you think of the show. And like I say every time here on the Karat Juice Podcast, do you remember the time when we fell in love? Do you remember the time when we first met? No, that's not what I meant to say. I just had to do that. All right. Like I say every time on the Karat Juice Podcast, love somebody, hug somebody, do something good for somebody, not expecting anything in return. And I'll see you next week, Tuesday, for a full installment of the Karat Juice Podcast. You already know you're going to get some bonus content in between. And without further ado, peace.